Good evening. Welcome to a special nighttime edition of Bike Fit Tuesdays, filmed on a Friday.
It's like the X-rated version.
We didn't get the memo.
Helmet squeezes all round. You look
too
different.
cold.
You honestly, like, I rode past and I was like, is that
Who's
him?
this
that guy with the beard?
Yeah. Come back to
a
us.
stick-on beard?
No, it's not stick-on beard. I shaved this morning.
Yeah, one of those normal stick-on beards. There's a weird boy in the background.
So irritating. Right, throwing his food all over the place. Are we going to go and ride a bicycle for a little bit
think so, yeah.
and have a chit chat?
It's like a professional studio, this. But actually, it's just a log. Oh, good question.
Go on.
How do you know if you've had a bike fit, if it's right?
Well, not all bike fits created equal, are they? I guess, like, a lot of people come into. I talk to people on the shop floor, and they're having issues with a certain element of their position, like the saddle, for example. And I'll say, well, have you had a fit? And the response is, oh, I've had a bike fit. I just want you to do pressure mapping on my saddle. And my second question to that is normally did they use a measuring tool, like an angle finding tool, to set your saddle height, or did they use some sort of motion capture device? Both that are generally, not always, but reliance upon such tools tends to yield, not always, but quite often can yield pretty bad results. Particularly if the fitter relies exclusively on these tools. Reliance on the tooling generally is dangerous. When you go into my studio, there aren't really any affiliations to brands or systems. I guess people looking to get fitted, you don't have to come see me. I'd love you to come and see me, but if you can't get to me, go to somewhere where there isn't a brand affiliation, where the fitter has got experience, where they aren't reliant upon tools. Where they've maybe studied and educated in multiple different systems, that will give you generally a much broader perspective. At the end of the day, experience is the key. But that said, experience in utilising one system, is not as good. If you had one individual that had 1,000 bike fits under their belt using one system, they probably wouldn't be as knowledgeable as an individual who's had, 500 bike fits over using several systems. So it's all about having broad horizons, I guess. Equally, if you're still having issues with your fit after you've been fitted, go back to them. If it's not right, it's not right. It's one of the things I say to my clients. It's not done until it's done. I don't have a satisfaction guarantee per se, but people are really very welcome to come back and see me, and that's my commitment to anyone that comes in and pays for a fit here. I'm not here to just take fucking money and walk away. It's not what it's all about for me. I've a vested interest in people performing, people being pain-free, injury-free, and I think there's quite a lot of business orientated bike fitting where it's all about it's all about cash generation and selling shit to the consumer and the end user, and it's not what bike fitting's about. It's not about selling people stuff. Yeah, I sell people a lot of stuff because people make stupid purchasing decisions based on aesthetics or what the pros ride or whatever it might be, but
Another reason to get a bike fit first.
It's absolutely. I've had quite a few conversations recently with people who have they're looking at buying a bike and they say, oh yeah, I want to buy a bike and then I want to get it fitted. And I had a guy recently, for example, today in fact, said, I'm looking at a Bolide. It's a Pinarello time trial bike, and he's 6'5". The biggest size they do it is 55 centimetre. Sorry mate, it's not going to fit you. So it's extremely, I think it's extremely important to be fitted first, to gauge an understanding of where the rider needs to be in space, understand things like, turn around, there's a big fuck off deer coming. He was on the trot.
Oh my god.
I've lost my train of thought
Shepherd's
now.
delight.
What was I saying?
Something about shepherds.
Something about shepherds.
Yeah, that's right. Walk away, mate.
Yeah, he's got bigger antlers than you, mate. It's all about the size, see? Having an understanding of where an individual needs to be in space is a perfect preparation for making more informed purchasing decisions. That's why I work on a jig, I fit on a jig. I'm very aware that a jig doesn't feel the same as a bicycle, but you know, it's a good way of being experimental. So you know, I like jig fitting. I think fitting on people on their own bikes is a waste of time because it assumes that the bike's right in the first place. I had actually just today, I had a guy who came in and you know, said he sat on the next size down of the bike he was riding and it felt a bit small, but his saddle was 20 mil too high. And you know, obviously we all know my views on saddle height, and quite a lot of people run them too high. So yeah, it's about being experimental, it's about being informed. My fitting's educational. It doesn't adhere to rules of thumb.
You're assuming people listen to you.
Well, yeah. But I show them videos and stuff. People watch videos. Right?
Show him Alan Partridge. Show him. I'll put you on the spot here a little bit because your bike is reminding me of something. Fixed gear criteriums. Raced on track bikes.
Yeah.
You have to decelerate a lot.
Yeah.
Would that be the same position as a normal track bike, or do you think something crafty could be done with the position on a fixed gear crit racer's bike to enable them to decelerate better? Because you are decelerating as much as you accelerate in these crits. They are the most technical courses.
It's a really
possible.
Interesting question. My instinct, my first instinct, and I haven't really thought this through, but my first instinct would be to run the saddle slightly further forward, so you could get on top of the gear. You might be, maybe run it slightly further forward.
We might have to come back to this one, right?
We might have to, but yeah, actually, run it slightly further forward so you could get down over the gear a little bit more to decelerate.
Because decelerating is not a healthy. It can't be good for your knees, right?
Probably not. No. But
so what can be done to limit the damage? If you're doing this for an hour of racing.
Well, potentially a slightly higher saddle height, shorter cranks, which you probably use anyway. I mean, even shorter. You know, we've got a 165, for example, will reduce knee flexion, so reduce how much you bend your knee. Other than that, there's not really. There's a finite amount of changes you can really make to a fixed wheel bike anyway, isn't there? But anyone who wants to come in and experiment with it, let's have at it. I use a parabolic roller anyway for all my fitting when I'm working on people's bikes. So
see what happens when people pedal backwards.
Then they pedal backwards. The roller still works backwards, man. You got a track bike?
Yeah. I might race it next year.
Maybe we'll have a go. There's that myth about saddle height, isn't there? So if your saddle's too low, you get knee pain. Now, that's true, but you've got to have your saddle really low in order for you to get knee pain. But, I mean, your question about would you run the saddle lower, I sort of almost wonder whether you'd do the opposite. I wonder whether you'd run it higher. Because you're talking about loaded flexion. So the knee is flexed and it's also loaded and tensed. And, you know, excessive loaded flexion, I guess, could possibly cause you knee issues. But only over repeated circumstances, which I guess, you know, in a fixed wheel crit, then it is. So yeah, instinctively, I would say, I think it's dangerous to say you need to run it higher, because running it higher, then if you run it too high, you obviously have all the issues at the bottom of the stroke. So it's a tricky one. I'd say, yeah, shorter crank and a good saddle height, bearing in mind that there isn't one saddle height for everyone. You know, people can operate in a range.
Maybe we should experiment a bit.
Maybe we should.
It's dark now.
Let's go home.
Should we go before we get killed by a deer?
Yeah.
Bike Fit Tuesdays. It's back. Bonus video for you guys. See you tomorrow.